All right, this is the craziest story of the week by far. This is a story about how hackers, or really anybody who has a basic knowledge of SQL injection, could have potentially bypassed certain checks and gotten access to the cockpits of aircraft. So there was a system here that was an online-based system that allowed access to the KCM and what was the other one? And one other service that allowed pilots and flight attendants to skip security screening. So Flycast was the overall web-based service. And then, yeah, so it was the known crew member program. Oh, there we go. And the Cockpit Access Security System, CAS. So these two programs were administered by this web service. And basically, you could log in with credentials, but it was vulnerable to SQL injection. So when you tried to log in, you could actually just ask it for valid credentials, and you would then log in as an administrator. So pretty standard, like low level attack. Like you're just querying the SQL database, trying to dump data out of it. But this SQL injection attack allowed just an arbitrary person to then log into the secure system and just put themselves through KMC or CASS. Now, what that means is they were able to create like a test user, in this case, test only, and grant them access to cockpits. Now, the TSA in a statement said that this wouldn't actually have worked because there's other measures that are required to identify the pilot, like they have to match the ID or whatever. But in this case, you just need to maybe change test only to like some other value, and then that person would be within the system. If they were approved, then they would be able to potentially get into the jump seat of a cockpit. Which is something that pilots are allowed to do when they're traveling. So that is a lot. And the Department of Homeland Security was the first one on the scene here. They were notified and they acknowledged that this was a problem and disconnected the service from those two programs. They said that they had other redundancies and other things that would have caught this, but they didn't really specify beyond that. After this, the TSA made it so that the website that has the information about that program removed all the information about it. So rather than identifying like exactly what the problem was, like they were like, yeah, it's fine now, and it always was. Not necessarily like the best way of disclosing a breach. They basically acknowledge with the database, but all the redundancies, whatever, made it so it was no big deal, and nobody needs to freak out over this. So obviously a little bit of like push and pull here with like how serious this was. Like, you know, the security researchers are saying, in this case, it looks like somebody maybe could have gotten direct access to a cockpit if they really wanted to. Whereas the TSA is saying, no, this was a very low level like database misconfiguration. And instead we have all these redundancies that make it so it's not really a problem. Who's to believe here? I don't really know. But it does go to show that when you have secure systems like this, that maybe a third-party contractor is working on, a little mistake like that can be really dangerous when it has an impact on like secure systems or a secure area, or, you know, like a cockpit where only certain people are supposed to be able to have access. So truly an interesting find. This all being like a kind of just web-based like application pen testing sort of thing. And we're going to talk about that later when I talk about what types of tools are used in cloud security research.